They called her the defeated queen. Her crown was gone, her army scattered, her people silent. But what no one knew was that this was not her ending. It was her beginning. Because sometimes life doesn't break us to destroy us. It breaks us to show us what we're really made of. This is the story of Queen Isabella. Once upon a time, in a vast and peaceful kingdom called Everdale, there lived a queen named Isabella Grace. She wasn't born royal. She became queen after marrying King Richard, a kind, brave man who believed in justice above all things. Together, they built a kingdom where people smiled, where streets were safe, and where dreams felt possible. But peace never lasts forever. One winter morning, a neighboring ruler named Lord Vincent waged war against Everdale. He was greedy, cunning, and ruthless. His army was larger, his weapons stronger. King Richard led his men to protect the land, and for weeks the skies above Everdale burned red with fire and hope. But then tragedy struck. News came that King Richard had been betrayed by one of his own ministers. The king was gone, the castle fell, and Queen Isabella, once loved by all, was captured and thrown out of her own palace. They stripped her of her title. Her crown was taken, her banners burned. Even her closest advisors turned their backs. She wandered through the forests with nothing but a torn cloak and a heart full of pain. At night, she would sit near the river, staring at the reflection of a woman she barely recognized. She whispered, "Is this it? Is this how my story ends?" But deep down, something inside her refused to give up. Because defeat only wins when we stop trying. Days turned to weeks. She reached a small village at the edge of her former kingdom. No one recognized her there. She was just another tired traveler. She started helping the villagers, carrying water, cooking meals, tending to the sick. Slowly, her kindness spread, and soon people began calling her Lady Grace, unaware that she was once their queen. One night, as a storm raged outside, a young boy ran into the village shouting, "Lord Vincent's soldiers are coming! They're taking food from every home!" The villagers panicked, but Isabella, calm and steady, said, "Hide the children, gather what we have. We will stand together." When the soldiers arrived, Isabella stood in their path. She didn't have armor, she didn't have a sword, but she had courage. "Take one step into this village," she said, "and you'll face me first." The captain laughed. "And who are you?" She looked straight into his eyes. "I'm the woman who once ruled these lands, and I will again." The soldiers hesitated. For a moment, even they could feel her fire. That night, the villagers fought beside her, not with weapons, but with heart. They drove the soldiers away. And from that night on, whispers began to spread. The queen still lives. The queen is rising again. Months later, hundreds of villagers gathered around Isabella. Farmers, soldiers, women, and children, all ready to stand with her. They had no royal army, no golden shields, only belief. When Isabella rode to reclaim Everdale, she wasn't just a queen. She was the voice of every person who had ever been defeated but refused to stay down. The final battle was fierce. Arrows filled the sky. Isabella stood at the front, leading her people with nothing but her courage and her heart. She faced Lord Vincent himself. He laughed. "You think hope wins wars." She smiled softly. "No, but it gives people the strength to fight them." And with that, her people charged. By sunrise, Everdale's flag rose once again, not because Isabella had an army, but because she had faith. When the dust settled, Queen Isabella stood in her throne room once more, but this time she didn't wear her crown. Instead, she placed it on the ground, a symbol that power didn't make her strong, defeat did. She looked at her people and said, "I once thought I lost everything, but I was wrong, because no one can take away your spirit unless you hand it to them." The crowd cheered, tears flowed. The queen who had been forgotten became the legend who reminded her people and the world that real strength is born in our darkest hours. So, if you've ever felt broken, if you've ever lost more than you thought you could handle, remember Queen Isabella, because defeat is never the end. It's just the beginning of the part of your story where you rise again.